sure that all our connections are set up for Facebook, X, and YouTube. Had to refresh some of those connections this morning because after a certain amount of time, they expire and you have to reconnect. All right, Facebook is streaming, X is streaming, and YouTube's being a little slow this morning. We'll give it a few more seconds, and they are streaming. So we're all set to go. All right, folks, there is your agenda. Last week, we're going to go through Asheebo's going to go through the high school football results. She's also going to talk, we're into the playoffs. We're going to talk about this Friday's game. Asheebo's going to be out at JM for that. His final power rankings is coming out today or has come out today in the paper. Reminder, the Chatham News and Record newspaper comes out today, so make sure you pick up yourself a copy. Seaforth volleyball team made it to the finals. Both Asheebo and I were out there on Saturday. No, it was Saturday. It was Friday. I'm sorry. On Friday, and he'll give you a rundown of that. Soccer playoff season is underway. We'll talk about that. Flag football, congratulations to Northwood. The girls flag football won the championship. Asheebo was there as well. And then we'll kind of wrap up with golf, tennis, and cross country. And I just want to let you know, Chatham County's own Jaron Stevenson is slated to be one of the starting five for UNC on Friday night at UNC in Chapel Hill. Then we'll get into Asheebo's stories of the week, as well as everybody's favorite, Asheebo's athlete of the week. So let me get rid of the screen and go to Asheebo. All right, Asheebo, tell us what happened in football last Thursday, actually, because a lot of teams decided not to play on Halloween night.
Yes, on Thursday, starting with West Carteret and Northwood. Non-conference game for Northwood there to end the season, and West Carteret got the best of them 29-21 in that one. It was a comeback effort for Northwood. They were trailing 21-7 entering the fourth quarter, and then early in that quarter, Northwood quarterback Grayson Cox, he rolled to his right, found a wide open Rajay Torres for a 35-yard score, bringing them within 6 points after a successful 2-point conversion. But Northwood defensively just couldn't really stop the dinks and ducks in the run game from West Carteret, and so they had the running back Joshua Bowman. He had a 3-yard touchdown in that quarter as well to put them ahead 2 scores once again with 5 minutes left to play. And then Northwood just kept fighting, had a 21-yard run touchdown from Grayson Cox, but the PAT was blocked, so they were down 8 points. Couldn't get the necessary stop there at the end of the game, and West Carteret ran the clock out, won the game there. So, like I predicted, I think I predicted a 28-21 score, so pretty close in that one. I knew it was going to be a close game. I think Northwood, they showed a lot of fight, especially at the end there, trying to come back down 2 scores in that fourth quarter. So there's some positives to take away from that game. I think it was also big to have Robert Tripp once again back for a second straight game. He had a long run at the end of the first half, but he got the ball stripped as he was coming down, and that was a big play, actually, that changed momentum. I think it was like with 3 seconds left in the first half, Northwood could have tried for a field goal or maybe ran another play to the end zone there to tie it up, or to go down one score, but just couldn't get it there. So just had some crucial plays there that didn't go their way that affected that game, but they definitely showed some fight at the end there in that loss. But then going over to Seaforth, they got a big win over Carborough, like we expected, 57-0. Duncan Parker, the quarterback, was responsible for 6 touchdowns in this one. I think he threw for 4, ran for 2. Nick Gregory caught 3 of those touchdown passes and also got a rushing score himself. So big night for those 2. Other touchdowns went to Patrick Miller, who caught a 45-yard score. And then junior Braden Moran, he got in the end zone there with a 16-yard score. And also, I think those are the scores there. But Jude O'Neal also got an interception. So defense got some takeaways. Just an all-around great put-together, complete game for Seaforth and a big win over Carborough. I think that's their largest win in program history as well. So they cap off a historic season with a historic victory. So, of course, they're going to get in the playoffs for the first time. That win also gave them title as co-champions of the Big 4A, 5A conference. So they get a share of the conference championship for the first time in program history. So big night, big season for Seaforth as they go into the first round tomorrow night. And then Easton Randolph against Jordan Matthews. Easton Randolph dominated in this game 49-0, and they put it on early and often. So this one, Jordan Matthews, they had no answer for James Combs. He really did it himself early in this game, and he ran in Easton Randolph's first 3 touchdowns, 4-yard score after a block punt, and then after his 17-yard score to put them ahead 21-0, he caught another block punt and took that one to the house for 40 yards and pretty much put the game away at that point. So the problem here for Jordan Matthews, just once again, just couldn't get anything to go offensively. Went back and watched this game, and Easton Randolph just kept getting in the backfield quickly and often, flustering Kamari Hadley and breaking up plays before they can really get started. So let's see how Jordan Matthews responds to that in the first round this tomorrow night, as well as they get to host their first playoff game since 2009. And then Salem Prep and Chatham Central to end the season here. Chatham Central just struggled in this one, lost this one 20-7. And once again, like we kind of expected with the offense here, they couldn't just get much going without their quarterback. So they had Carson Jackson running quarterback duty last night. They did rush for 182 yards as a team, and Jackson ran in their only score, but defensively just not enough to get those stops they needed. Jamari Wilson from Winston-Salem Prep, the freshman, had 180 yards and a touchdown on 20 carries. And Winston-Salem Prep rushed for 210 yards as a team. So just run the clock out, getting the necessary scores for Winston-Salem Prep was all they needed to win over Chatham Central. And we can go ahead and talk about the first round, Gene, unless you have anything to say about the last few games of the regular season.
Well, I was just going to say, yes, you. I think you were 1 point away from the exact prediction on that Northwood game, because there were times that it was kind of touchy. The thing that it was a muddy field, as you mentioned. There were a couple of times. I think at the end of it, for those of us old enough, that was the end of that game was like a Tide detergent commercial right there, because everybody was covered in mud. It was. And the field has taken some beating, and there was a whole bunch of rain out there. So, actually, before you want to go into the games, do you want to do your power rankings, or do you want to wait until after you talk about the playoff games?
Yeah, we can do the final power rankings for the season. It's been the same for the past about 4 or 5 weeks now. After we had all the inter-county games go on and more things developed during the season, but at 4, we'll have Chatham Central coming in there. At 3, Jordan Matthews. At 2, Northwood. And the number 1 team in my eyes for Chatham County this season was C4. Of course, they got the big win over Northwood. Historic season for them. They get their first share of a conference championship. So I'm going to give C4 the nod as the top team in the county during the regular season. And now we'll see if it will continue in the playoffs. So starting with the first round here, we'll start actually in 3A with number 18, Northwood, traveling to number 15, Hertford County in the East bracket. So Hertford County, 5-5. Northwood coming in this one, 3-7. And Hertford County is coming off of a 29-16 loss to Martin County last week. Martin County was the Northeastern Coastal 3A, 4A, 5A co-champion, so pretty good team there. But that was Hertford County's 3rd loss in their last 4 games. So they're looking for a pretty big bounce-back game here in this first round to get back on the winning side of things and try to build some momentum here in the first round. But looking at their team, they're led by quarterback Rucker Nixon, rushing tandem of junior Aiden Everett and junior Justin Bunch, who have combined for over 1,400 yards this year. And just looking at what they've been able to put together this season, it looks like they're as good as their offense. So in this one, 0-5 in games, so they've scored less than 17 points. So for them, winning requires putting some points on the board, and I think that's a great thing for Northwood, because we've seen this season defense has been their specialty, especially with Robert Tripp coming back, and we saw him make a lot of big plays at that linebacker position against West Carteret as well. I think defensively Northwood will be ready for this game, and they're going to make it hard for Hertford County. They have I think they have struggled a little bit at times, limiting those explosive rushing offenses. But they have also shown the ability to shut them down as well, like we saw in games against Jordan Matthews and against Northmore. So we'll see if Northwood can continue that and as well continue to put some points up offensively. Probably need a better offensive game than they showed against West Carteret. But I don't think this team is as tough as West Carteret. I think it's actually good. They saw that type of competition before the playoffs. And I actually have Northwood winning this one 21-16.
All right, so it's 20. All right. So that one you got 21-16. Yeah, I was going to say I think yeah, this will be a close game. So we'll see what happens. But 20, hey, maybe you'll get another one that's close to it. But I'm hoping it's going to be 21-16 with Northwood. You picked Northwood on this one. See,
Yep, I picked Northwood.
in one of these days. So yes, I definitely hope that's the way it turns out because then they get to play again next week. All right, what's your next game?
Yeah, so 5A East, we have number 20 Seaford traveling to number 13 South Brunswick. Of course, this will be the first ever playoff game for Seaford, first ever playoff opponent. South Brunswick is coming in at 7-3 on the season. Of course, Seaford 5-5. And South Brunswick, they won their third straight game last week with a 35-7 blowout win over West Bladen. Looking at their offense, we scored at least 28 points in 3 straight games, so they can put some points on the board. And they're going to run the ball from what I've seen. So senior quarterback Jaden Daniels, not the Commanders quarterback, but South Brunswick Jaden Daniels, he's thrown for over 1,800 yards and 23 touchdowns. While junior running back Amarius Revels, has rushed for over 1,200 yards, 9 scores. And just looking at their schedule, looking at some of their scores, I mean, you have to really come in and beat this team to win over them this season. So they're 4-0 in games decided by 1 possession. All their losses have come by double digits. So Seaforth, looking at history of South Brunswick, looking at Seaforth's history, I think you want to come in here, you want to avoid a close game. And of course, that's something that Coach Tolbert Matthews has been adamant about this season with his team is coming out and getting a fast start, which I think will be a key here against Seaforth. That they're going to have to, if they're going to win this game on the road against a pretty good opponent, start fast, build an early lead, and keep it. I think they also need their best defensive game because, like we said, South Brunswick, they're going to come in, they're going to run the ball, and Seaforth has struggled a lot this season with stopping the run. If you go back and look at some of their losses, especially their bigger losses this season, and of course you can look at their most recent one against JF Webb, where running the ball and being able to stop JF Webb's rushing attack was the difference there. So I think that's what they're going to need to come out with a win here. But I do think South Brunswick does win this one, which I think is going to be a tightly contested game. Seaforth is going to come out and fight, and they've shown that, especially in these latter weeks of the season. And a little bit, with some fight. They had some fight in some of their early losses too against some good teams. I think they're a better team than what they were before, obviously. So I think they're going to fall in this one, though, to South Brunswick 42-35.
Wait a minute, did you say 42-35?
Yes, I think this was going. I think this one has the potential to be a shootout. Just considering, like we said, with South Brunswick coming in, they want to run the ball. Seaforth has struggled with it, but I think Seaforth they've shown they can put some points on the board. And Duncan Parker really coming into his own in the end of the season. They found something with Nick Gregory at running back. So I don't think they're going to have a tough time scoring on South Brunswick. Problem is if they can stop them, which is my biggest concern.
Right. And I definitely agree with you that the team at this point of the season, at the end of the season, is different than they were in the first few games. They got a whole bunch of confidence that they didn't have at the beginning of the season, plus the players that figured out different options, because you and I have seen that when we've gone out to games where if one option isn't open, they can always go to the other one. And as Coach Tolbert has told he's told his quarterback, either throw it away or run with it. So don't get sacked with it. So that should be an interesting game. All right, 35-42 on that one. Seaforth being an underdog on that. And if Coach Tolbert wins this one, he's going to come back and he's going to say you were wrong. But
Oh,
that's
yeah.
okay. That's part of the fun of high school football. All right, what's your next game?
Okay, yeah, 4A East playoffs. We have number 17 Red Springs coming to number 16 Jordan Matthews. Like we said, first time since 2009, Jordan Matthews gets to host a playoff game. So I'm sure it's going to be a great environment to support the Jets and what's a big moment for the program with the direction that it's headed. So Red Springs 4-6, Jordan Matthews 5-5 coming into this game, and Red Springs is coming off a 28-8 win over Fairmont last week. Just looking at what they put together this season, they've leaned on that connection between their senior quarterback Chase Boone, who has thrown for over 1,900 yards, over 1,950 yards actually, and senior receiver Taquan Ellerby, who has accumulated over 980 receiving yards this season. So Red Springs looking at their record in close games this year, as we know, playoff football, teams are going to fight to the end. You're going to get each other's best in this one. They're 1-5 in games decided by one possession, and 0-5 against teams with more than 4 wins. So it also struggled to stop the run at times this year, which I think sets up a good matchup for Jordan Matthews here in the first round game. Jordan Matthews has played some tough competition before, so I think you can say they're a little bit battle tested coming into this one, regardless of how they kind of finish the season. And like we said, I think while limiting their explosive passing game will be a key, which I think Jordan Matthews can really do. I think that's their strength. They have a lot of great skill guys that can cover receivers, got some speed that can go down the field with them. You got your safety and Namir Wiley. You got the corners and Lennox Mordecai, Nolan Mitchell, Jaden Fisher as well back there in the defensive backfield. I think they can run with those receivers. I think the problem with Jordan Matthews is, can they produce offensively, capitalize on some defensive stops, and build a lead in this game, which I think they'll need here to come out with a win. I think against this team, I think after about 4 or 5 games where that's been a struggle, I do believe in the Jets that they do find a way to get it together this week, establish some dominance on the offensive line here. That's the key, and get the running game going. Of course, with Jakari Blue, if they get him some open lanes, break some big runs, of course, that'll keep the defense honest and also open up some running lanes for Kamari Hadley, who we know has the speed to break off a big run as well. So I actually believe Jordan Matthews is going to come out with a win in this one, just considering the environment they'll probably be in, the magnitude of the game. Of course, wanting to get another win after a rough end to the season here, and coming into the playoffs pumped up. I think they're going to win this one 27-20 over Red Springs.
Well, I'm hoping that you're correct with all your stuff, and I agree with you with JM's got the components. It just doesn't seem like, as you mentioned, they seem to have gotten all the components working together all at the same time. And if they can work it out, yeah, I definitely agree 27-20. But we've also seen where when they haven't gotten it together, it doesn't turn out well. So I'm hoping that it does work out well. Folks, Asheebo is going to be at that game. And just a reminder, you need to follow him on, and I'm going to pop that up right here, Asheebo R38 on X. He will be at the game. And the nice thing about Asheebo is he doesn't sit up in the press box. There's nothing wrong with the press box, but the man is working the sidelines. He's right down there. I think sometimes he needs to be careful so he doesn't get run over, but he is on the sidelines and he will be on X. So it's definitely worth it. And look, if you're in Siler City, go out. What you said, this has been years. I think it's been quite a while since Jams made it to the playoffs. So it's definitely worthwhile to go out there and go ahead and support the team and what Coach Kermit and those gentlemen are doing. All right, so that wraps it up for football, doesn't it?
Well, we got one more game. We have a 1A West matchup, a rematch actually for Chatham Central against Winston-Salem Prep. Just played them last week, so they get another shot at the Phoenix this week. So Winston-Salem Prep coming into this one 2-8. Chatham Central, of course, 1-9, and it's a little bit of the same things for Chatham Central. I think they've shown that they can get some stops defensively, especially against a team like Winston-Salem Prep. But they just have to capitalize on those defensive stops, find ways to get into the end zone, which I know is really hard for what the team has been through this season. But if they can find a way, well, of course, I think they're going to compete in this game. Of course, I think it's going to be a close game. I do think Winston-Salem Prep, though, it's just going to be a little bit too much offensively, with Chatham Central having kids having to play both sides and play some big roles as well. I do think Winston-Salem Prep is going to win another close one over Chatham Central, 14-7 in this game.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you on that one. Chatham Central's got the spirit. They've had some good players. They just don't have enough bodies, and with the injuries, they're at a disadvantage this year. But hey, you know what? They're not giving up, and Coach Little's doing a nice job with what he's got. And yeah, we'll be cheering you guys on this Friday. Again, Asheebo's going to be at the JM game. All right. Now let me ask this: are we done with football now?
Yes, yeah, we're done with football now, so we can move
All
on
right.
to some other things.
Yeah, well, let's get into Seaforth volleyball. They made it into the championship game. They played in Winston-Salem last Friday. Let the folks know how things turned out.
Yeah, so Seaforth did lose this game 3-1 against Hickory. It was a really good game. It was a thrilling first set. Seaforth won that one 26-24. So we got extra play early on. And then we also had another close set in the second one. I don't think any of the sets were blowouts. I think all the sets were decided by single digits. Seaforth really just could not overcome the power and accuracy of championship game MVP Emmy Gamble, from Hickory. She was a beast in this one. It just seemed like it seemed like she could hit the ball with a lot of power and accurately. And anytime Seaforth really tried to catch it or receive her swings, it was really hard to corral it with as much control as they wanted to. But Seaforth put a really big fight up in this game. So, like I said, despite the score 3-1, it was closer than what the score looked like. And of course, talked to the players, talked to Coach Scott Green after the game as well. And he shared a sentiment that they just played a really, really good opponent. And he acknowledged Seaforth played well too, which I agree with. I think they played really well in that game, but just couldn't get over that hump, which what Scott Green said in the press conference. Just couldn't get over that hump there in that one. So, and they even, trailed early, came back and made some runs to make it interesting in some of these later sets. But like I said, Gamble, also Kira Morin from Hickory, just too much for Seaforth in this game. And they'll be their state runner-ups once again for the second straight year. But I do want to shout out, and this is also in the story, but they had a really, really great run to get here. I think, if you guys remember earlier in the season, Allie Forbes was down with an injury. So they lost a few games there and struggled a little bit in the middle of the season. But she comes back. They catch their stride later in the regular season. Of course, they were trying to get over the hump with Cedar Ridge, right? Cedar Ridge beat them 3 straight times in the regular season, and then in the conference tournament championship game. And then they see Cedar Ridge again on the way to the state championship, and they go to their place and beat them. So they overcame some adversity this season. They added former Chapel Hill volleyball coach who was a state champion, built a great program at Chapel Hill as well. They added him to the coaching staff. So he was a big help to their playoff run, and just fell short at the end there to complete what was a pretty magical run. Also, too, I forgot, the game before in the regional final against Person, they came back from down 2-0 to win that game to go to the state championship. So, yeah, it's just a lot of fight, overcame a lot of adversity this season. So hats off to Seaforth. I think these girls, considering what they returned, Naomi Stevenson, who ended up being one of the statistical leaders on this team as a freshman, I think with what they return, they have a chance to be right back in this position next year and years to come. So definitely nothing to really hang their heads down for. I think this team is full of talent, great, and with the great coaching staff behind them, they'll definitely be back.
Yeah, the outcome was unfortunate, but it was fun to watch those that match because, as you said, there were times where I'm like, oh gosh, it's going to go out, and they kept volleying balls back and forth. Where sometimes you're thinking, how are they going to be able to do that? But they managed to do that. Um, and I think, as you mentioned, yeah, there was some adversity up front, and they were in the high school OT top five there at the beginning, and then kind of dropped off. And hey, they proved them all wrong because they made it to the championship game. They didn't end up being runner-ups. And as you mentioned, I think in the post game, we asked one of the volleyball players what were some of their what put the biggest smile on their face, and the fact that they managed to win that last game against Cedar Grove after losing to them 3 times. They said that was a big accomplishment. So that got them into the championship game. Hey, Seaforth, I know it's disappointing, but you just got to remember you came in number 2 among how many teams in 5A? So congratulations on that. And hey, you guys can look forward to next year. All right. We do have a champion here in Chatham County because earlier this week there was a girls flag football championship that went on at JM, and Asheebo was there. So Asheebo, tell us what happened there.
Yeah, so Northwood ran into Southeast Alamance in the championship in the final tournament on Monday night. And you guys know Southeast Alamance, I think, beat Northwood 3 times this season before this game. So Northwood really wanted this one. They wanted to get their get back, and they got it in the biggest stage. So Northwood won this one 26-20. And really, I got to give it to Noelle Whitaker. I mean, she really put the team on her back, especially in that second half, and got a couple handoffs, broke some long runs, running through some failed flag pools, and willed her team to victory in this one. Kelly Watson also, she got an interception early in that game. When the offense wasn't really scoring, couldn't really get together in the first couple of drives. The defense came up big, and then of course you had Aaliyah Roberts dealing as well later on in that first half. She hit one of the Glover twins for a big gain, and then actually they ran a trick play. I think it was a flea flicker. It was Aaliyah handed it to Noelle. Noelle handed it to Kellis, and she threw it down the field for one of the Glover twins for a touchdown. And that was a big play there for Northwood. I think it was to Shayla Glover. Yeah, to Shayla Glover for a touchdown. 6-0 play. They talked about the play after the game, and they were like, it was beautiful, and they executed it really well. So it was a really fun night for girls flag football. Of course, the coaches were excited. You had Coach Fred Whitaker turning around, jumping up and down, waving his hands up and down, and when they realized they were going to win. I mean, they got to the point where they lined up in victory formation. So pretty cool night. The Northwood fans had girls flag football hoodies on, so you really feel the team spirit. And of course, like I said, a great competition, a great competitive game, and yeah, it was fun covering. Of course, we were there for the first game a couple of weeks ago. We were following the scores throughout the season, then to see the final tournament. A lot of the teams got much better throughout the year. It was really cool to see. Even in the semifinal games, we had Jordan Matthews playing Southeast Alamance. They lost that one 18-0. They put up a good fight in that one. And then Seaforth played against Northwood, and Northwood, of course, won that game 28-0. And even despite the big loss for Seaforth, even they made a lot of strides as a team. So it's going to be exciting to see once the sport does get sanctioned, to see how it works when there's North Carolina High School Athletic Association state championship on the line, and of course I'm sure it'll probably be more serious there. But just for girls coming out having fun, trying football for the first time, or maybe having experience in football and putting it to the test. I mean, they really took it serious, as if this was a sanctioned sport, and went out there and put on a great show for themselves and for the people that were watching. So yeah, I really enjoyed it, and congrats to Northwood for winning the first one. Actually, we found out the name of the league. I saw it on the trophy. It's called the Mid Carolina Flag Football League. So of course that encompassed Jordan Matthews, Seaforth, Northwood, Eastern Alamance, and Southeast Alamance. So we'll see if that can grow over the years, or of course when they do sanction it across the state, we'll have some more matchups with some teams in other places.
Yeah, and as Asheebo mentioned, yes, it will end up getting sanctioned. The question is, it's going to be in a couple of years, 2-3 years, but the way it's going, it's going to be sanctioned. I was going to say, as a dad of a daughter who played sports, she played rec league sports. I think the mom and dads out there, you should be especially proud of your girls because, as Asheebo said, the first game, they were enthusiastic, a lot of athleticism, a lot of smiles in that. And then we get to, as Asheebo said, you got trick plays going on for Northwood to win it, where you had that enthusiasm, you had the coaches teach them up on plays, and then they execute the plays and they succeed. And the fact that you've got high performers, you've got a stable quarterback, Northwood did really well. And Coach Whitaker, I just want to let everybody know that a few years ago when Coach Whitaker was the assistant coach at he coached several basketball teams. He was assistant coach and a coach. The man sweats profusely. So I got him a sweat rag. And the other night when I was out there watching the game, he had that sweat rag out. So maybe that's a good luck charm for him. Coach, I'm glad you coach these girls. I know it's a memory that they're going to have for the rest of their lives. And it's a memory you're going to have. And you should be proud of what your team did. And just as Asheebo said, Seaforth as well as JM, hey, it's the first season, and the girls had a bunch of fun doing it. So thank you so much for doing that. All right, that takes care of flag football. Congratulations to Northwood. You got your trophy. Let's just look at wrapping up with golf, tennis, and cross country before we get into what Asheebo's got in today's newspaper.
Yes, actually, we can actually go to boys soccer because we got playoffs tonight. We got the second round, and
yes, we can.
If you guys kept up with the first round. We had two teams playing. So in the 1A West tournament, we had number 14 Chatham Charter getting a big win over number 19 Winston Prep 10-2. And then in 5A on the east side, number 12 Seaforth got a 3-1 win over number 21 Southern Guilford. So both of those teams advanced to the second round tonight, where we had three teams get a bye. So we're going to see them for the first time. And starting in 5A, we'll have conference rematch between number 5 Orange hosting number 12 Seaforth. So that'll be an interesting matchup there. In 4A, we have number 8 Jordan Matthews hosting number 9 Randleman on the east side. And in the 3A East bracket, we'll have number 8 Northwood hosting number 24 Lewisburg. In 1A East, we'll have number 5 Woods Charter hosting number 12 River Mill. And in 1A West, we'll have number 3 Leadership Academy hosting number 14 Chatham Charter. So those are your boys soccer matchups tonight. I know Jordan Matthews versus Randleman, which is pretty a big one. I think Randleman has a pretty good record. I think 16-3-3 coming into this game, which will be interesting to see how that goes. But if Jordan Matthews gets to win, and if Southwest Randolph wins, we'll have a rematch of that game, which we know was a big matchup throughout the season in the Four Rivers 4A conference. So big implications tonight with boys soccer. I'm hoping we get that rematch. That would be a really good game at Southwestern Randolph on Monday if we do get that. But of course, we know the Jets can't look ahead to that one. So and also it would be interesting to see if Northwood can continue their great season as well against Lewisburg. I think they have a good chance of winning that one. They've caught a pretty good stride throughout the end of the season and going into the postseason. So we'll see how it goes. I think we have a lot of teams that could surprise or make some surprise runs in the state tournament, especially Woods Charter as well. Considering the only team they really couldn't get past this season is on the west side. So we'll see how they can do on the east without Clever Garden School in the way. But like I said, those are our second round matchups for tonight.
All right, and I will be at the Northwood game taking pictures. And it's funny because Asheebo, PJ, and I have been texting back and forth. Yeah, Asheebo and PJ are definitely looking forward to JM playing East Randleman on Monday night. So let's hope that JM, you need to come through this week. That's all I got to say. All right, now are we ready for golf, tennis, and cross country wrap ups?
Yeah. So cross country. We had big races here in the state championship last week. In 1A, we had on the boys' side, we had Torres Price from Chatham Charter. He finished second in the boys' race, so state runner-up for him. He gets all state honors with his top 10 finish. He finished there with a time of 16 minutes, 31.58 seconds. And we'll talk more about him as well. Chatham Charter sophomore Emily Scheidt, who ran by herself with the Knights, finished in 11th place in the girls' race. So great race for her as well. And then also in 1A, we had Woods Charter Jr. Sophia Rodriguez on the girl side, finished 12th. And then some more individual, good individual performances. We had Northwood Senior Sydney Gray finishing 5th in the 3A girls race. And her teammate Jordan Wiley, the senior, finished 6th in the boys race too. So we got some all state runners, top 10 finishers from the championships last week. And you can read more about that in the roundup. I think we talked about golf last week with the Northwood girls and where they finished in these state championships. So, yeah, we discussed that last week. Girls tennis, we had dual team. We had number 10 C4 still going last week. They fell to number 8 Durham School of the Arts 5-1 in the 5A East Regional Final on October 30th, which was last Thursday. So, congrats to C4 on a great season. Almost just one step away from the state championship match, but couldn't quite get there, and they lost to a really, really good team in Durham School of the Arts. So, yeah, I think that is it for those sports. I mean, fall sports is coming to a close, with the only sports we have left being football and boys soccer. If you guys want to catch some early basketball, we had some of that this week. Chatham Charter got started on their season. The boys, they came out are 1-1 going into tomorrow's game after losing the Eno River 57-46 in the season opener, and then they turned around and beat Phoenix Academy 67-54. And in that one, Braylon Harris had 17 points and 5 steals, while Kamani Wagner-Jada had 15 points. And then Chatham Charter on the girls' side, Chatham Charter beat Eno River 35-24 in their season opener, but it fell to Phoenix Academy 55-32. And then their season opener win, Peyton York, the sophomore, had 11 points, while Camille Austin had 8 points. So both of them are hosting North Carolina School of Math and Science on Friday, tomorrow night. Boys at 7:30, girls at 6 p.m. So if you guys want to catch some early basketball action, that will be there for you tomorrow night in Siler City.
All right. And Asheebo and I will be in Siler City on Saturday to catch some early morning basketball as well. Just a reminder before we get into what's in the paper today, Asheebo's working on it. You're going to have a high school basketball preview coming up in the Chatham News and Record. And I also want to give a shout out to the folks who have been watching us so far. I got Melanie Roberts, Ann Baker, Andrew Turner, Lee Hampton. Angela, man, she is like a regular person. And Angela Glover is like, good luck to all the Chatham County teams tomorrow night. So, Angela, I'm sure they want to hear that. And Toya Fox, good luck, Chatham County football teams, as they go into the playoffs. Ladies, gentlemen, if you want, go ahead and remark. Lewis just dropped in right now as well. We do appreciate you all watching. Last week, we got to almost 4,000 views, so we appreciate that. It's almost double what we were doing last year. And, again, the large part of it's due to Asheebo, as you can tell. I haven't been performing well today, but Asheebo, as always, is on top of things. So, Asheebo, paper comes out today. What you got in the paper that people need to pick up and read?
Yeah, so we got, of course, recaps from football games last week and the previews for tomorrow night's game. So you can read what to expect tomorrow night in the paper as well. We have our fall sports roundup with a quick recap of the end of some of our fall sports in the state championships, and as well as the end of the boys soccer regular season. We have our story on Northwood girls flag football winning the championship as well. We also have a feature on C4 boys basketball coach John Berry this week. He earned his brown belt in jiu-jitsu last week on Monday. Very personal experience for him, and he had a lot of the C4 community His youth hoops basketball camp community as well come out and watch him. His family as well, they were there, and with the dojo, they all watched him put on a demonstration to earn his next step towards his lifelong goal of being a black belt. So you can read more about that in the paper as well. And I think I feel like I'm missing one. Let me make sure I say all of them. So we had buried the roundups. We had that's what I was missing. Of course, a story from C4 volleyball, the state championship as well. We had a lot going on with the end of fall sports, and then we're starting to transition into winter with basketball and wrestling as well. So like Gene said, next week I am planning a basketball preview, another basketball preview edition of the paper. So having girls and boys with some other stories as well pertaining to the upcoming basketball season. Some big news: Chatham Central did hire a basketball coach this week. They announced that this week is going to be Stacey Harris is now the new boys basketball coach at Chatham Central, placing Robert Burke, who was the coach there for some years and led the Bears to some playoff appearances and some deep runs in the state tournaments as well. So welcome Stacey Harris to Chatham County. Of course, we'll get to talk to him actually probably on Saturday when the Bears go to the Jets Jamboree that's hosted at Jordan Matthews, Ramsey Gym, and Chatham Middle from the morning through the afternoon. So I think I'll be there from 10 to 12 catching some of our county teams there. That will have Chatham Central's boys, Seaforth's boys, and Jordan Matthews boys and girls from Chatham County participating in that Jamboree. Like Gene said, if you want to catch some basketball action on Saturday as well. So, yeah, that's what we have in the paper. And Gene, are you ready to go into Athlete of the Week?
Let's go with Athlete of the Week.
Yeah, so like I said, we're going to talk about this guy later in the stream. Athlete of the Week is Taurus Price from Chatham Charter's cross-country team. He put up a great performance, not only for himself, but for the school. Finished as a state runner-up in the 1A cross-country state championship race with a time of 16 minutes and 31.58 seconds. That was 5 seconds behind the state champion and over a minute and 30 seconds faster than his time in last year's state title race. So showed plenty of improvement here and almost got the title. But his performance, of course, helped Chatham Charter earn a 6th place finish in the state championship meet. He earned all state honors. So a great way to finish the cross-country season for Taurus Price. And we'll look forward to following him and the Knights throughout the indoor track and outdoor track seasons coming up in this fall, in the winter and spring.
Yeah, the only thing I wanted to add to that is congratulations, Taurus, and at the C4 volleyball championship game. I also want to mention one of actually a couple of the players on that team have been Asheebo's Athlete of the Week, and their folks were at the game, and they appreciate the fact that their favorite player got to make Asheebo's Athlete of the Week. So I know folks out there are enjoying it. Look, it's not hyperventilating when I say it's one of the favorite things people look forward to on not only here, but in the newspaper, is to find out who's Asheebo's Athlete of the Week. So, folks, thank you so much for trying really hard. And Asheebo, again, keep working hard, and maybe you'll make that Asheebo Athlete of the Week list one day. All right. You're going to be at the game tomorrow at JM. I'm going to be at the Northwood soccer game tonight. We're probably both going to be at the basketball games on Saturday morning. So that's where we're out. Is there anything else folks need to know as to where you're going to be or anything before we finish up here?
No, I think you said it. And of course, depending on what we get tonight for boys soccer, I might be making a trip over to the west side of the county or in the Randolph. Actually, that'll be in Randolph for boys soccer again. If you guys remember how close and how exciting that matchup between JM and Southwestern Randolph was during the season. But like I said, both teams got to take care of business tonight in order to get there. So we'll see how that goes.
And right there, folks, follow him on Asheebo R38 on X if you want to keep up with that. The other thing Asheebo does is if you follow him, He will sometimes post a screenshot of the front page of the Chatham News and Record paper so you can see what's in it, but you got to pick it up so you get that hard copy. Again, get 2 copies so that way you can cut it out and put it on your refrigerator, and then you save a copy. Because I mean, I've got saved copies, and my kids are all over 20 years old of stuff that they did back in school. So everybody, thanks for watching. We'll be back next Thursday. Reminder, follow Asheebo on X to find out what's going on in just about everything. He's not just posting when he's at the games. He's also posting when he's away for the games. So everybody, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next Thursday, same time. Anything else, Asheebo?
Nope, I think we got it all covered.